Welcome to Innovation Dialogue. I'm Diana Ding. Today we have our guest speaker is Malia Cohan, and she's the chair of California Board of Equalization. And currently she's running for California Controller. Hello, Chair Cohan. How are you?
Hello, Diana. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so glad you are coming to our show.
Thank you.
And so, talking about state controller, what is this job about?
The state controller is a huge job. Not many people know about it, but it's incredibly important for state government. The controller's main function is to be an independent voice, a watchdog over taxpayer dollars. So my job would be to ensure that tax dollars that are spent fairly, that they're spent equitably, and that it is a good investment. So the state controller's job is to write the checks as the and be the one of the chief accountants for the state of California. Now, the controller's job differs than the treasurer's job. Fiona Ma is our treasurer. She's also endorsed my race, and she's a friend of mine. And the treasurer's job is to bring the money in, to collect the money, to collect the revenues, to deposit it in banks, to grow that investment. And then the controller is on the other side of the house and writes the checks. That is
Wow, that's really
simplest way to explain.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's really important. So why you decided to run for the controller?
I decided to run for controller actually after a conversation with Betty Yee. Betty Yee is our current controller, and she's very smart, and she's been very influential and very helpful in helping to guide my professional career. And Betty Yee and I work. She served on the California Board of Equalization, as do I serve on that seat. And she asked me to run for her position in March of last year. She said that I was very smart and that I'm a hard worker and that I would do an excellent job. Now, my reasons for running for this office is that it's an incredibly important role in state government. We have an opportunity to acknowledge where tax dollars are being spent and to be really strong and independent when it comes to the dissemination of these tax dollars. So I'm a fair-minded person. I enjoy numbers, particularly audits, because an audit is the number one tool that the controller office has at her disposal. And these audits are important because they tell you where money is being spent. And you are a savvy businesswoman, as are many of your watchers, and you know that you want to make good, sound business decisions. Well, in my background, I've got tremendous experience when it comes to managing budgets. I'm a former San Francisco County supervisor, where I served as president of this body, and I ran the budget committee for a number of years, was able to successfully save San Francisco, or cut from the budget $41 million, been able to bring measures to voters that have generated around $14 million for low-income communities like in the southeast of San Francisco that don't have a grocery store or access to healthy foods. I've also done a lot of work around audits, and audits are important tools to help us when we're doing accounting. And so we're not, just like we are judicious about how we spend our own personal money, I take the same approach when dealing with taxpayers' money. I want to make sure that the state government is working fairly on behalf of everyone, not just the wealthy people.
Thank you so much. Yes, you do have a lot to offer to this position from your experience. I saw that on your website you have so many endorsements from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senator Dianne Feinstein and the congressional, elected officials. Mm-hmm. So, as a Democratic Party and endorsed you, how do you serve the people with a different point of view?
That's a great question. And I would go back to a lot of the experience that I have on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors and just working, being a Black woman, but serving a population where people speak Chinese, people speak Tagalog, Samoan, Spanish, just various different languages with a different ethnic background. And I think the one thing that unites us all is that we want to feel safe, and we want to have equal protection, and we want to be seen. We want people to hear us if we have questions, to understand our problems and our challenges, and to work to solve these problems on our behalf. And I have a demonstrated track record of being able to do that, being empathetic, being thoughtful, but being a problem solver. And so those are the values that I will continue to bring with me. And I'm a hard worker. Work very, very hard. to satisfy my constituents and to help them when they have a problem.
Yeah, Betty said you're a hard worker, and you mentioned that you're a hard worker. Can you give us an example?
Oh, my everyday, absolutely. I mean, I get up or start my day at around 5 o'clock in the morning and go till about 10, 11 o'clock at night, just being very hard, being at different places, attending several meetings on Zoom or in person, and also answering emails, being responsive to people that connect with me on social media. Also, some of the ballot initiatives that I worked on behalf of marginalized communities, restricting the sales of flavored tobacco, making sure that small businesses have the resources that they need. On the Board of Equalization, answers to people's tax questions for small businesses, whether their property is being assessed, what the assessed value is. And so that is just an example of personally how long the day is, but also professionally, how I've been able to deliver, working hard, solving a problem. And these are complex problems, Diana. These are not like easy problems, working to build coalitions to stop Asian hate as another example. It's a big problem, not just here in California, but across the entire country, the racism. So that exists, the homophobia that exists. And so just really being present, continually to connect with people, to different communities, like doing this media, doing this platform that we're talking right now. It's important. And I believe demonstrates hard work.
Yes, definitely. As an entrepreneur, we work very hard too. Yes. So what's inspired you and what motivated you to, being working so hard?
I have a little girl who's about a year and a half old. And, I want her to be able to grow up and to go to school with, say, your daughter or maybe your producer's daughter and really be able to connect. I grew up in San Francisco. I grew up in the public school system. And a lot of the fond memories that I have growing up stem from just being around different communities. You remember potlucks where families would bring different food and items from their culture and they would share it collectively. I mean, those memories really bring me a lot of joy. And that's the kind of memories that I want to see for not only my own daughter, but for all the children for the state of California. I want the state to grow. I want people to be able to go to their places of worship and go to school and go to the library and feel safe in their community, to know that they're getting good food, to know that they have water that is safe, to know that they can walk down the streets without being fearful of being harassed or assaulted. And that's something that anybody would want. I want to make sure that my grandparents and my great aunts are safe, just like your parents want to be safe when they're walking and enjoying themselves in their senior years. So that is one thing that is universal. That will never change. That crosses ethnic lines and cultural lines. And I think that is what brings me to the table, to make sure that I'm a part of that my time on this earth is positive, and that I'm bringing good energy and doing good work.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the public service. It's so passionate and really good energy wherever you go. I met you several times. So, as your role is to, spend our money wisely, but what does this mean to our average people?
So what does that mean? That means average people, we pay our taxes every year. Right? Our income taxes, we pay our property taxes if you own your house. And you probably walk around any street in the state and you can see in the downtown area or on the outskirts, you can see homelessness. You see people suffering. You can see people who are mentally ill, that are hungry. And so you have to wonder, I pay so much in taxes. How is this still happening? Or you have to wonder, I spend so much money when it comes to police and fire, and yet there are wildfires that burn in the state of California. Car break-ins are also increasing and rising. You got to wonder, where are tax dollars going? And the controller has the ability to tell you where your tax dollars are going. And take it a step further, not only can I tell you where the tax dollars are going, but I will be able to assess whether or not it is a good investment. Now, we don't have an infinite amount of time. We don't have an infinite amount of money. We have limited resources. And so we want to spend wisely. We want to invest our time and we want to invest our dollars in programs that are working. And the best way to determine if a program is working is if you have an audit. And so that is what I'm proposing that I would bring to voters, that I have that experience that I'd like to share, and begin to really push in the right direction, so we're not wasting money.
What you're doing is really, taxpayer really want to know where the money goes, but many of us don't know where to access those information. And what are you going to do to let the taxpayers know this?
That's a really good question, because it's not only about access, but it's also about language access too. Because I can put all the information on the website, and if I put it in English or only English, that doesn't serve everybody. It serves only a very small population, a population of English speakers that are dwindling. Because California is a state that is changing. There are more ethnic minorities that are growing and that are going to reach a majority status in the next several years. And so I think that state government as well as local government need to reflect that change. So one of the things that I'm proposing is putting a translate button on the controller's website, and to make the information that is on her site accessible. I speak English as my native tongue, and still don't understand all of the forms and all of the directions. And so really want to concentrate on presenting the information, and then also connecting with platforms like Ding Ding TV, and coming back and saying, this is what we've done in the last quarter of the year. Here are the state's earnings. Here are our expenditures. Here are some of the problems that I'm seeing, and really begin to reach people where they are, right in the comforts of their home. They don't have to go to a meeting. They don't have to necessarily have a lot of money and buy newspaper subscriptions. You can get on your laptop. You can subscribe to a newsletter with the controller's office and know that the information would be there and that it would be accurate.
Wow, thank you so much. We would love to spread out this information to our community. I think this is really, really important. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, during this pandemic, especially for Asian American and ethnic American owned business, we really hit hard. As an entrepreneur myself, we also had a hard time during the pandemic. So I know that, our government is trying to help people, but there are still someone receive the money that they are not qualified. So what lesson we learned from this pandemic? What are you going to do for this?
Oh, Diane, that is a great question, because there was a lot of waste. Millions of dollars went to the wrong people who did not qualify for assistance. And the people who did qualify for assistance didn't get it. And that's a really big problem. And an audit would begin to tell us where and why and how that breakdown happened. And specifically, I think you're talking about the employee development department, and it is a department that needs a lot of work. And so what I'd like to do immediately once I take office is put together a team of folks that would help me assess where the problem lies and then begin to solve it. I'm not interested in continuing and perpetuating bad business practices. And we need to eliminate waste and fraud. And that is exactly the job of the controller.
Well, thank you so much. We do need someone with integrity and honesty, and willing to stand up and speak up for us. So if you win, what will you do, and what's your priority?
So like we discussed earlier, translation button, making sure that the information, and there's a lot of information on the website. I want to further relationships within the ethnic media and the press, be able to advertise information in the controller's office in the ethnic media press. I'd like to investigate where tax dollars are going. Some key programs would be like homeless programs, housing programs, the employee EDD. There's an accounting system here that the state of California uses called Fiscal that has not been working. We signed an MOU, a memorandum of understanding 11 years ago, and that project is still underway and it still has not been fully executed. So I think that that's important. I'm a state worker. I'm a statewide elected official now, and my department has grossly been impacted in a negative way when we don't have the centralized accounting system. I'm not able to watch how my managers and directors spend the budget. And so the information isn't timely. And so the fiscal system is something that I would be interested in working on immediately.
Thank you so much. So if elected, you will become the California's first Black controller. So
Yeah.
how are you going to do to help the AAPI ethnic group and people with color?
Yeah, so I think that just like when John Chung was one of the first Asian American men to run for governor, and Fiona Ma and Betty Yee, when they were the first, they still are able to serve. As a matter of fact, I think you do a better job of serving the ethnic communities, because you come from a community that has been disenfranchised or has been discounted or undervalued, under-resourced. And so I think that there are more things that unite us and bring us in and put us and we have a commonality than where we are different. I also grew up here in California, and so grew up right alongside the API community. And I know a couple things that are certain. And again, safety is important. Everyone wants to be able to have good access to quality education. People want seniors to also feel safe and have activities to do, as well as our young and our youth. And so these core principles never change, whether you're white or Black or Asian, Muslim, Jewish, being consistent and being able to connect with the humanity, with a person's inner spirit is I think really what's most important. Not being dominated or blindsided by the bottom line, and forgetting the reason why we serve, who we are serving, why this is a gift that California voters will bestow upon you, and you don't want to squander that opportunity. It's not something that you can take for granted. So those are a lot of my philosophies and my values when it comes to leadership. The other thing that I think is important is to build a team, a coalition around you that is diverse, that will help speak to the cultural nuances, right? You and I have many people in common that assist me in that way, and that give me advice of just little things that I don't know. And I'm grateful for that. I think it makes me a more well-rounded human being, and it makes me a better elected official.
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember that Congresswoman, she said that in Silicon Valley, in Bay Area, diversity is our innovation. And unity is our power. Yes.
That's right.
That's what I heard. Yes. Anna Ashford. Okay. Well, today we're with Malia Cohan, and Chair of California Board of Equalization, and she's running for California State Controller. Thank you so much, and hope we can talk to you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.